Good evening and welcome to the Greenfield Public Schools School Committee meeting for Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. If this meeting is being recorded by Greenfield Community Television, if any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. Don't see any. Secretary Denis, will you call the roll?
Chair Johnson-Musad,
Here?
Vice Chair Sexton,
Here.
I am here. Member Childs,
Here.
Member Goodwin,
Here.
Member Martini,
Here.
Mayor DeSorger is here, just walked in. So we are all present and accounted for.
Excellent, thank you. Move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight? Yeah, you might have to push it a couple times till it turns green.
Oh, okay. Good evening. My name is Albert Johnson-Musad, and I wanted to appreciate the school committee over the last 6-7 years. I know that you have faced a number of significant issues, and so your role as members, and certainly the role of your chair, have required some significant persistence, great effort, and stamina. So I want to appreciate the school committee. And on this evening, the last of Chair Johnson-Musad's service as school committee, I want to appreciate him as well for his stewardship and care and investment of heart, mind, and soul in this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment in the room? All right, any public comments on Zoom? Make yourselves known. Not seeing any, we'll move on to report of student representatives to the committee. Lauren and Callie.
Okay. So, starting off with Student Council, December brings ugly sweaters, staff appreciation breakfast, and volunteer opportunities. Students will be helping with Jingle Fest and planning a rally for December 23rd.
Key Club, there will be several service opportunities in December, including bell ringing and family dinner for Salvation Army, a gift wrapping station during Jingle Fest, and assisting with the Giving Back Together toy drive.
And congratulations to Elderina Second Janin and Jack Laurie for achieving all state soccer honors. Winter athletics started on December 1st, so check out Arbor Live for the schedules. Go Wave!
For Drama Club, the club had a successful run of 3 performances for Nightfall, Stories by Edgar Allan Poe, in a black box format in mid-November. Auditions are beginning next week for The Spring Play, an adaptation of the classic children's novel The Secret Garden.
Okay, AV Club. After a 1-year hiatus, the AV Club is regrouping and currently has 10 members. Meetings are once a week on Mondays. So far, students in the club are engaging in taking photos and videos at school events.
The Spectrum Club meets every other Wednesday. This month, members will be dedicating some time to being creative together, while also scoping out causes on the local, state, and national levels to see how they can best spend their energy.
Trivia Team, formerly known as Schools Match Wits. The club continues to practice twice a week during lunch. Currently, there are several seniors for matches, but the club is looking for younger students to join. The scheduled as School Match Wits filming is on Saturday, January 24th, with the air date to be determined.
Mosaic/Students of Color Club. The club has been meeting weekly on Thursdays and getting to know each other. Recently, the group had a bonding meeting to create a new sign for the club name Mosaic. Currently, the group is organizing members for the April dodgeball tournament.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for us?
Questions? We don't, but thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming. We'll move on to the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, or CPAC, was scheduled to attend tonight, but was unable to at the last minute, so we'll look forward to having them at a future meeting. So if Andy Brown from TMS is available to provide the social media impact, great.
I'm here. Am I able to share a slide deck, or do you want me to just talk through it?
Yes, I just made you a co-host, so go ahead.
Okay, excellent.
Andy, if I may, Glenn.
Please.
If I may, just before you start, we have with us Andy Brown, who does our communications, and he is here at the request of Member Sexton and others who we were talking about this, and obviously we have services provided by them, and asked a few months ago when we were talking about it, if we could get an update on some of the things that this company provides us and what's going on. And I know last month in November you brought it to the board and asked for questions. So Andy has a little presentation to let everybody know what's going on with TMS. They do manage our social media, do newsletters, monitor our social media as well too, and also do crisis communications for us when we have things, and send out memos to parents during the weekday if there's a code in the building or a lockdown, that type of scenario. So without further ado, it's all yours, Andy.
Great, thanks, Roland. I realize I haven't met a lot of you. I've met Glenn, and I've met Roland, and I've met Stephen, but most of you I've never met in person. I just wanted to talk a little bit, very, very briefly, about our experience, and then a little bit about what we do, and then I can go into some of the data around social media. I personally have more than 30 years experience in communications, 20 working directly with public schools, universities, and nonprofits. I've worked both in internal communication, external communications, and my team has copywriters, editors, designers, photographers, videographers, and social media expertise. And Greenfield has taken advantage of all of that over the past few years. For Greenfield, we focus a lot on messages home to families, whether it's newsletters, emails. As Roland mentioned, we do some crisis communications. Fortunately, we've never had to step in and manage a much larger crisis. Most of them are small, and I can talk a little bit about that process. We do some design work around brochures and flyers. I just worked on one with Kelly Halpin. We are frequently pulled in on any reports that need to be done to the school committee. So whether you knew it or not, you've seen some of our work. During COVID, when Judy Hool was the interim, we came in and did some video work to explain how back to school was going to work. Obviously, social media monitoring and responses and posting, and then of course the typical media release, press release sort of thing. Communications planning, we've kind of got a system down with Roland and with preceding administrations. So we haven't had to do a lot of planning. So we probably would want to refresh that sometime in the future. And you fortunately don't have to talk too much about recruitment or advertising. But these are all the capabilities that we have brought to the table in some capacity to Greenfield. When we're talking about messaging home to family, we're mostly these days working on newsletters with the principals and with Roland. We've designed the templates in the past via SMORE. We update based on best practices, and then we edit content. And in some cases, there are two cases specifically, we will step in and we will essentially write the whole newsletter based on input from the principals. Crisis communications, this is one, it's an area I hate to love and love to hate. We're part of the crisis workflow, so when something happens, we are one of the first groups that's contacted. There's a power to it that we can keep rumors from expanding beyond the initial building, kind of build a bubble of truth, if you will. There's a concept called the primacy effect. It's when whoever you hear from first is who you're inclined to believe in the future. So if you see it on the news, a lot of us are attached to the news outlets we listen to. That's a combination of the primacy effect, because that's where we get our news from and that's who we believe. And then the anchoring bias, which is everything we hear after that, we compare to our initial thoughts and feelings. So if we can get the word out with just the facts, even if it's the bare bones, because we don't know everything, and we explain that this is what we know now and we will keep updating you. And the key is to keep updating people. We earn the trust of our constituents. So if something happens in a school and there's a lockdown, the police show up for one reason or other. It might even be to just shut off an alarm. We can get that information out that that's what's happening. And then it stops rumors from flying later on. I've had situations where rumors have gotten out of control, because not in Greenfield, fortunately, because we weren't involved in that first level of communication. And obviously, you just keep that update going throughout the process. Brochures and flyers. This is the flyer we just worked on with Kelly. It was for Warm the Children. It went out a couple weeks ago. The advantage of us doing it over a principal is we can get it done faster. We also can create a clear call to action as opposed to burying the lead. And traditional media management, when there's news in the district, it's always nice to tell the media, whether it's radio, the recorder, any surrounding papers. It's nice to let them know what's going on, so they can, if they feel it's newsworthy, they can spread the word beyond our social media. It's also something where we can go in, we have decent relationships with reporters. We can go contact them and say, hey, you got this title wrong. It was 20 students, not 10. We can make those corrections, and we can make them very quickly. And then, of course, there's social media. When we started social media with Greenfield, there was a single Twitter account that was created by a former superintendent. There was no access to it, and it hadn't been in use for over a year. It's still out there. There was no way to access it and shut it down, but it doesn't post, so there's really no following anymore. We started posting on Facebook and Instagram in the summer of 2024. Previous administrations had been reluctant to engage on social media and spread the word. So with the new administration, we were able to start expanding the footprint of Greenfield and getting the word out in some ways faster about what was going on in the district beyond just the newsletter. We also monitor TikTok, X, and Snapchat. And of course, as new social medias like Threads and Blue Sky pop up, we start monitoring those to make sure there's not a ton of activity around Greenfield. While we ourselves are not active there, we keep an eye on it to make sure that there are no rumors flying. And I'll get to that in a minute, because something did happen this fall. Current followers are 508. Part of that is this summer, we were asked to take a hiatus from posting. So we did, but a lot of your followers for schools will start ramping up around August. And if they don't see there's a lot of activity, you won't pick up as many followers. The same thing with Instagram. Now this fall, my colleague Cass Londergan, she was watching social media for anything about Greenfield. As we do every day, we go in, spend about 20 minutes every day just looking at social media. We have alerts set, so we check out those alerts. And there was a TikTok video put out by a parent about a letter about a new law. That new law actually was a very old law, but the messaging hadn't been updated in years. She shared it out of concern that there was a new law. There was a new law about sharing student information with the military. The video itself had started trending. It hadn't yet reached a tipping point where it just exploded, but it was on its way. We contacted Roland and Stephen, and we made some recommendations. We created some graphics very quickly, created some direct communications home, and it all got sent out, referencing the confusion, explaining that it was old, the law had been around for years, and it calmed the situation down almost immediately. People stopped commenting on the post. As a result, what could have been not a crisis, but uh, uh, a challenge to trusting the district, and trusting what was coming out. We were able to prevent that turning into anything bigger than what it was. The high school has reviewed the back to school packet and has found a couple of other things that they need to update for next year. And we made the recommendation that all recurring communications yearly, especially around back to school, should be reviewed yearly just to make sure everything is up to date. And then this is our Facebook content overview right now. This is since January 1st. You can see in the graph where the engagement spikes. You can also see in the summer months where no one was posting at all, the engagement died down right there. We get a decent number of views outside of our followers, which is to be expected. Actually 100% of it is organically reached, whether that's from a parent sharing it, whether it's because the algorithm is saying, hey, this person's from Greenfield, they don't follow, but they should see it. You're starting to get some really, really good traction. And this is the same breakdown, except as you can see, this is just about the content. This is about the number of followers. So total number of views, 182,000. From your small number of followers, you've got about 72,000 views, and from non-followers, 109,000, which says to me there's a lot of room to grow a following. Does anybody have any questions?
Not seeing any at this time.
Okay. So that's our update.
Oh,
I
that's
know it
your
was
full
intended.
report. Okay.
Yeah, that it was intended to be a social media impact update, but I wanted to make sure that the whole committee and the community knew that it wasn't just about social media. There's a lot more to communications, especially with schools. Uh, Schools require not a lighter touch, just a there there are nuances to schools communicating home to parents and to the community at large, because you want to make sure you address all constituents.
Andy, I think when there weren't any questions, it might have been because people thought you were going to proceed, but now the people know that it's the end of
Okay.
your presentation. And actually, if you want to stop your
Yep.
screen share so people can see you. But now there are some questions for you, as I saw Stacy and then Secretary Deneve.
Yeah, thank you for giving this presentation. Just appreciate y'all's willingness to put it together. I was really curious about if there's specific types of content that people are reacting to, or specific types of posts, even if it's not the content. But is there any particular pattern
Sure.
to it?
Most of the posts, we get a lot of traction from elementary school posts, especially when we have more than one photo. High school, we get more traction on Instagram, and that's to be expected because the audience on Instagram tends to lean a little younger. The demographic on Facebook tends to lean a little older to parents. So we get I'd say on Facebook, it's mostly elementary school posts about what's going on in the different schools. Some schools perform better than others, and that's a matter of engagement within those schools. And there are ways we can build that further to making sure that principals continually share that, hey, we do have a presence on Facebook. You should check it out there to keep up with what's going on in the schools. We currently don't do a lot with what the school committee is talking about, or at the central office level. For instance, with other districts, I'll do, and when grants are awarded, we'll post about, hey, as a district, we received this grant, and this is going to be for this, and this is how it's going to benefit our students. The community generally likes that because they understand better how the money in general, whether it's a grant or it's it's taxpayer money, is being used. And that's important for that's an important part of the overall story of schools.
Secretary Deneve?
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think my question might be an Andy Paquette question, because my question is about billing for social media. I'm wondering if we pay for a all-encompassing package, or if you bill us based on what you do on social media.
It is a retainer contract.
Okay, so it's a set amount every time.
Exactly, and
Okay.
we try to do as much as possible with. We base it on between around 40 hours a month.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering because I think that it would be great to have a more transparent way to show what we're spending on it in regards to our warrants, so that we know what we're paying, what hours we're getting. But that might be an Andy Paquette kind of deep dive
So,
question in the future.
If I may,
Oh,
I mean,
Andy's
we
here.
can share.
Oh,
I
okay,
am,
well,
sorry.
hi, Andy.
Hello. We can share, I mean, there is a contract we have that explicitly spells out the services that are provided. I mean, that's something that we can include in a packet that shows these are all the services enumerated through what it is that we've been doing kind of on a month-to-month basis.
I know about the contract. I remember all of that. I guess I'm just thinking about how we communicate to the public to justify that we're doing this and we're spending this money as part of our transparency obligations is really what I'm trying to get at. And maybe that's just a conversation to have later. So you don't have to answer it now.
Okay.
Thank you. Member Childs?
Hi, thank you for this presentation. Out of curiosity, this is personal curiosity, I want to know what design software you use for the flyers and communications, and then less just for my own personal curiosity. The flyers and templates that you make for us, aside from the Greenfield branding, how customized are they versus standardized across other districts that also use your services?
Depending on the purpose, I'll either use Illustrator or InDesign. They're the industry standard, and they're the most flexible. And as far as templates go, I customize. Greenfield has their own set of standards that we use internally. We've asked a few times, and I haven't talked to Roland about this, about putting together a style guide for you guys, so that colors are standardized. We've standardized them ourselves, using the colors from the Greenfield Public Schools logo. But it would be, I think, beneficial for the district as a whole to have a style guide so everybody's on the same page. But as far as we obviously don't necessarily do one-offs, because it's much faster to create a template for a purpose in Greenfield that we can modify as we go. But everything that Greenfield uses, no other district uses.
Thank you, and I think that style guide idea is a wonderful one.
Mayor?
Thank you. That was very informative. On the style guide and branding, we're working on that as well through the city, because I don't know that much about it, but I guess it really matters that the branding is done so that everybody recognizes one place. So I don't know if our communication director had reached out to you, because he's working on that through the city, so that, for instance, everybody's using the same, color green or whatever it is. Has Jonathan Weber reached out to you yet?
I haven't heard from him, but I've heard from Jonathan via Roland about other things, but not about a style guide.
Okay.
Roland has an answer for you on that.
Mayor, he has reached out to me, and I did meet with Jonathan just last week.
Thank you. And just one follow-up question, if I may. On the Facebook posts, et cetera, this is not something that I know much about at all, again, from the communication director. Are you archiving or saving the Facebook posts?
That's all being,
responses?
The technology department in the school department has a software that is capturing all the posts and responses.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Terrific.
Any other questions for Andy? Andy, thank you so much for your work for the schools and for your presentation tonight. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
And I'm remembering how hard we worked during the budget season last year when we were working on presentations for city councilors. So that's another thing that you've helped us with, is kind of communication with other parts of the Greenfield government. So thank you for that work.
You're welcome.
All right. I think our next item is reports of the administration. So Andy, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize for not being there tonight. You have your December update as of the time of the running report, but I am happy to report the city finance department has closed the FY25 activity on Monday. So we'll be able to get back to the revolving account reports. But you have in your packets the local budget, capital, and with the status as to where things are as of December. We still had, again, because of it not being closed, some negative encumbrances still showing up. There was a payroll that was run that had not had the encumbrances released. So on the memo, you have I'm going to say the reconciliation down to the balance unencumbered as of the running of the report. In addition to that, as I've been doing, updating you on special education, we have 3 new students from last month that we have been told we have fiscal responsibility for. We have determined an estimated amount for one of those. The other 2 were in discussions and finalizing those with various state agencies and the other school districts, just to ensure that we indeed do have fiscal responsibility, and if so, how much. But that has increased now the special education tuition overage, I say budget overage, up to $456,366. I can answer any questions you might have. And again, as I want to remind everyone regarding that overage, we are in no need to go to the city for an additional appropriation because those funds are available in the special education tuition revolving account.
Questions from the committee? Not seeing any. Thank you so much, Andy. Andy?
You're welcome. I see somebody in Zoom has their hand raised, though.
Oh, we don't recognize.
Oh, that's
Bill
right. Yes.
on the-
Yep. That's,
Yeah. I wanted to say, Andy, how much I've enjoyed working with you over the last 6.5 years, and thank you so much for everything you give to the Greenfield Public Schools.
well, the feeling's mutual, Chair.
Okay. We'll move on to the Assistant Superintendent Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan?
Good evening. My report is in your packet. I did provide just a brief professional learning update, as well as some grants updates and some information about our ongoing reading challenge. So in terms of professional learning, today was day 2 of learning walks, our 3rd round of learning walks in the district, where myself and the principals, today actually we were joined by members of DESE's statewide system support team at Federal Street and Newton Elementary, where we visit classrooms throughout the district. It's an important part of our work for monitoring the instructional trends, assessing implementation of our initiatives, and planning next steps in professional learning. It's a way for us to gauge the effectiveness of previous professional learning and identify places where teachers might be looking for additional support or resources. I can tell you after visiting the 2 elementary, I'll speak specific to the elementaries today. the consistency in which we saw the literacy intervention block being used is a credit to our teachers and principals for their implementation. We've been doing a lot of training for the past few years, but it really launched, I would say, last spring when we offered an optional training on the core and pass diagnostic assessment. And when it was optional, I think we had 35 K through 4 teachers volunteer to participate. And while there have been times I have been wary about putting more on teachers' plates, the teachers continue to say, this is the right thing, we're getting the right information, we feel good about this for the most part. And they're also giving feedback about places where they're feeling like they might not have enough resources or enough training or enough support. But I can say in the 16 months or so that I've been in the district, I've never been on learning walks in 2 different schools that have still been so consistent. And I would anticipate, based on what we've seen in the previous learning walks, that to continue when we visit Discovery this week. The work at GMS and GHS is a little bit different, but we're seeing a lot of positives there. And in the places where we're seeing some struggles and some challenges, I think the principals and instructional leadership teams and teachers are showing a willingness to take whatever steps need to be done. I think there's a feeling that teachers have some more resources than they may have had, or may have more support in using those resources. And I get the sense that they're feeling empowered by that. And I can't speak for a whole faculty of teachers in the district, but the general consensus, both in our previous learning walks, at our professional learning days, and what we saw today, is the teachers' willingness to take on these new things. They're seeing the benefit for their students. And I know personally, I'm looking forward to the second benchmark, which takes place in mid to late January, because that's a real indicator of the work that's been done. We took that first benchmark in September. Students are coming back from summer break and things like that. So it's really a baseline. This second one is going to tell us the growth that we've made, or places that we need to pay additional attention as we get into the spring, for lack of better term, testing season. In terms of grants update, we had 4 teachers at GHS attend a 2-day Generation Citizen Institute last week. This is for the FY26 Civics Teaching and Learning Grant that I've notified the committee about prior. And the main objective of this grant is to implement a civics curriculum that leads to a civics potentially showcase or project for our students. And we really want to work with our teachers to figure out how this can be best managed at the classroom level, because I think there's some challenges when you're teaching a US 1 or a US 2 history course, and now you're trying to build a civics project on top of that. So we're working with Generation Citizen, and our teachers are working with Generation Citizen to identify where we can make some sacrifices in what maybe we've been teaching, or what parts of their curriculum would be redundant. So how do we build a nice workflow that leads to students who are civically engaged and knowledgeable about their communities and state and the national conversations going around about civics education. So really excited about that work. Also just submitted, and I know Ms. Raincourt is in the audience today as well, the USDA Farm to School Grant. So this is a little bit new for me. Last year we had a veteran to Greenfield food service director. Unfortunately, that food service director left, and we've been transitioning a new person in, and Kristen's been great to work with. But what's new for me is having my hand in writing grants for farm to school and USDA and visiting other community school garden programs. So this was an opportunity that was born out of work that had been done by Greta in the previous Food Service Administration, but it led us to this partnership with Grow Food Northampton, where they're writing a USDA Farm to School grant, and they have typically worked with the Northampton Public Schools, but they've included Greenfield in their grant proposal this year. And our grant proposal includes equipment for greenhouses at our elementary schools, for gardens at our elementary schools, for supplies, for training for our food services, how they can take locally grown foods and bring them into our cafeterias and things like that. So really exciting about that. Now, of course, like most grants, I'm letting you know that we've submitted it recently, and then by the time I tell you whether we received it or not, it's going to be a forgotten memory probably, because I don't anticipate we'll hear until May or June. And it would be a 2-year grant that would begin in the fall of 2026. So we have our fingers crossed on that. And then last month I updated everyone that we were restarting, or we're once again having the Greenfield Public Schools and Thunderbirds Stick to Reading Challenge. That kicked off the week of Thanksgiving. And while I had announced at that time that Boomer would be at all the turkey trots, unfortunately, Boomer fell ill and was not able to attend turkey trots the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. But we are rescheduling with Boomer so that he can come in late December before the break. And our goal is to have him visit all 5 schools that he hasn't visited, because he was well enough to attend AEL last Tuesday, and the superintendent and I were there to see Boomer walk through the halls of AEL. And
Is Boomer
interesting
like
to
a
see those
emotional
young
support
students see
dog?
this massive bird.
Who's Boomer?
Boomer
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Boomer is the mascot for the Springfield Thunderbirds. I suppose Boomer is a Thunderbird
Can he,
of sorts.
can he come to a school committee meeting? I want to see that.
I don't know what kind of pull I have with Boomer, but I can certainly ask. So the challenges that we're asking students to read for 20 minutes, at least 20 times between Thanksgiving and New Year's. If they do that and they fill out the form that was distributed at schools, they'll receive an opportunity to have a free ticket to the Springfield Thunderbirds game on Saturday, January 24th. So those forms are due back to school when students come back the Tuesday, January 6th, because we know it would be difficult to remember that on Monday, January 5th. So
If school committee members want to read the policy handbook for 20 minutes, 20 times, could they also get tickets to the Thunderbird?
if they, right, it's students only are getting the free tickets, but I just want to encourage families again, if your students are participating, please provide the clearest email addresses possible, because that's how the Thunderbirds will reach out to you. And last year we hit some snags because it was difficult to read the email addresses that were submitted. So because once we get them, we submit that to the Thunderbirds, and they issue a link where families can purchase additional tickets, and the students who completed the challenge will get their free ticket.
I'll just add on to that, that if you're a family that participates, check your spam folder, because the Thunderbirds email with your ticket information could end up there instead. And also, it's a wonderful program. My family's excited to participate in it again, and I hope we get as good of turnout as we did last year, because last year we had some pretty massive numbers, didn't we?
We did, I think, over 200 Greenfield folks, students, parents, families, administration staff attended over 2 different days. Unfortunately, last year, the Saturday night turned out to be one of their most popular nights, so it ended up selling out, but they did issue Greenfield residents who participated the ticket to another game so they could still attend.
Superintendent?
No, I was just pointing that they had a question.
Oh, but I think, or do you have more?
That is it.
Okay.
for tonight. Thank
You're
you.
up, and then we'll ask you both questions, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. In your packets, you have just a brief enrollment update. So from October to now, we have added 3 students to our rolls. So we are at 1,345 students right now, as an FYI. And then we have some nice updates for you. Obviously, you have a few things from November, just some past and some future things happening. All of our schools had nice turkey trots the day before Thanksgiving, and Assistant Superintendent Sullivan and I were able to get around to, and I went to every school that day, the Wednesday before, and never saw so many active children running and going around. They were all different. Every school has different things happening. Federal Street did laps around their school. I went to Four Corners, and they ran through the neighborhood and were coming around, and many of these students just kept going and going and going. So I know what teachers put up with in terms of the energy. There's no doubt about it. And it was a little overcast day, a little slight drizzle maybe, but that didn't seem to stop all the fun and having everybody get ready for the long weekend that time. One of our students last night was just presented by the mayor and the Human Rights Commission an award for creating a logo contest. It is Cecily Paterno, 7th grader at Greenfield Middle School, so we're very proud of her. And she received that, and it actually was in the newspaper today as well. So, and shout out on the flip side to the Greenfield Recorder. They really do a nice job of covering a lot of our things and reach out. They're proactive, I will say, in that in sense of calling me or other principals to seeing what they can do. So thank you to them for that. The Greenfield Middle School is partnering with the Greenfield Public Library through it's a grant, Libraries Without Borders, which will allow 6 field trips for our students to go to the Greenfield Public Library this year. And as coming off the heels of what Assistant Superintendent Sullivan mentioned in terms of reading, right, anything we can do to have our students either read more, and as many of you are probably aware, it's come down to years ago, people were worried about what people were reading and if they only read certain things. Now it's read, right? Read anything, whether it's comic books, magazines, newspapers, fiction, nonfiction, you name it, biographies, read, as long as the students are reading. And we seem to be doing a nice job of that in Greenfield, so thank you to everybody for that. A nice shout out to our National Honor Society at the high school, who once again coming up next week will be volunteering in the Adopt a Family program this year, where they are adopting a family as a team, as well as spending a day distributing food and gifts out to our community. I'd also like to thank National Honor Society and the Key Club for volunteering for babysitting during some superintendent search meetings and out the groups that they had come out. Many of you know we were one of 4 statewide listening tours last month and had a great turnout here in Greenfield, one of the highest they've had. And I just wanted to let our school committee members know, and I think the mayor's already aware, that I did present to the Greenfield Citizens Academy that was run by the mayor's chief of staff, and had great interactive discussions with the citizens who are out there, and they're bringing in different departments for different nights, full of questions. And I think the more we can get out, as you heard from Andy Brown, in terms of communication and us getting out in front of the community and not being, and I mean this in a polite way, and I don't think anybody's afraid, but not being afraid to answer questions, right? I always tell people, we're an open book. This is a public institution. There's no secrets. You might think there are, and there's not. You'll find them in that sense. So we'll answer any questions that people have in that sense. I would also want to congratulate Nate Woodard. Many of you know Nate. Nate was just recently honored last week by the Gary Rome Surprise Squad. So they came up to Greenfield High School and gave Nate $1,000. In the whole school, Greenfield High did a great job. Thank you, Principal Browning, et cetera, and everybody who helped up there. They were in the gymnasium. We had, Nate was diverted in my office doing a presentation before that, went to the high school. His family was there, the whole school, the band. He walked in very surprised, and you've probably seen it on TV how they do that in the past. And Gary Rome, who was so generous all the time, had his 2 dogs there. And so that was filmed last Wednesday, I believe, and sometimes it takes about a week or so for them to kind of splice it all together. They had a drone in the gym flying. They were doing a lot of stuff. So that should be probably out pretty soon, any day now, if not this week. And if it was thank you, 17th, appreciate that. So you're going to see Nate on TV, and that's going to give great press for Greenfield High School and the Greenfield Public Schools as well. Also, I want to thank the Greenfield Education Foundation. They are a group that supports many initiatives that our teachers put in. Our teachers will put in for things that are not able to be funded by our schools. They might be some extra things. And they have just awarded, I was fortunate enough to meet with them and meet them last month and attend their meeting. And I want to let you know that they have awarded a few things for this next cycle. They awarded teacher Anna Marhefka $1,400 to fund the raising of trout in the classroom for a study of life cycles, food cycles, and water chemistry. They also awarded Emily Rogowski $1,550 to help fund transportation to the Boston Science Museum for all chemistry students at Greenfield High School. And Greenfield High will cover a good portion of that as well. They awarded Jenny Horton $629.65 to purchase 7 waterproof Bluetooth speakers for the classrooms at AEL. They awarded Lisa Morrison $2,822 to purchase equipment for instruction in cooperative games for students in physical education in grades 5 to 7 at Greenfield Middle School. And finally, in November, they awarded Anna Hartman $3,200 to help fund transportation to the airport on their spring trip to France for the French Club members and anybody who's involved in that. They also have done great things in the past, and they're continuing to do them. They were a great group of people that I was able to meet with. I know many of you probably know who they are, and they accept donations, obviously, for anything that could be done. So anybody who would like to help and has a little extra money, they could give to the Greenfield Education Foundation. And finally, I would like to close with, I was fortunate enough last Thursday night to attend a dinner. Once a year, the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, MASS, your sister side to the MASC, gives each superintendent in the state an award to give out to different students, to one of their top students who has done a lot of things. And it's not just to a student who has the top grades. And we all know that people have top grades, but it's somebody who has high grades, very high, in the top 5 to 10 of the class, and who does a lot of other things. And I was fortunate enough to give the award to our senior, Sophia, I'm going to kill her name, Rockowitz, thank you, and I have it phonetically spelled right there. Sophia Rockowitz, and had dinner there with her mom and dad and her sister, who's a sophomore at our school, Ella, as well. Hopefully she'll follow in her footsteps. But I want to let you know just a few things. Sophia is the salutatorian right now and has received the University of Rochester's Bausch and Lomb Honorary Science Award for High Achievement in Science and Math from Greenfield High School. She's a member of the National Honor Society, has high honors, taking this year 4 advanced placement classes: physics, Spanish 5, English, and calculus. 4 in 1 year, right? I mean, that is almost unheard of in that sense. She is the president for NHS, vice president of the Spanish Club, on the student council, does a lot out in the community as well. Through her church, she volunteers with the Bread of Life, spending Saturdays preparing and delivering food for residents in need. She is also senior captain of the softball team, state champion 2 times in 22 and 23. And she's a waitress. She works at a local restaurant and pub every Saturday and Sunday, and as a Subway artist at Subway. And during the winter time, this was Titus. I used to be a ski instructor at Berkshire East. She and her family are ski instructors at Mount Snow, where she teaches special needs students and developmentally delayed children and adults on how to ski up there. So very busy and a great representative for Greenfield High School and the Greenfield Public Schools. And you may have seen in the article, we did it again, great coverage from the Recorder. Thank you to them. And I mentioned in the article and at my speech about Sophia and to the other schools there, it was all the Franklin County schools were at the tech school for a dinner in the award presentation. And I want to just reiterate this to our audience as well, too, that when we watch the news, sometimes we see a lot of negative things on the news, and they'll tell you almost now that you shouldn't watch the news in life in that sense. But when you sit in a room that night with top students from all 8 schools in Franklin County, and you'll see our top schools, our top kids, and all of our good kids here at Greenfield High as well, too. I'm just inspired again to realize that we are in good hands. As I get older and someday we'll have to go to the doctor and need different services, and you see the young ladies who are reading here before us tonight, there are a lot of good students out there. So do not lose faith in our students or humanity, because as we age, people will be able to take care of us and do a lot of good things for us in that sense. So that was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the superintendent and the assistant superintendent? Mayor?
I don't have any questions, but that was just wonderful and uplifting from the two of you, actually. Wonderful to hear about that USDA grant. And that was such exciting news that you shared, and happy news with all of us. And I also thought that that grant where 6 trips to the library that's incredible, because you're getting them there 6 times and making that, I think that will be winning for the rest of their life. So thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any member would like to consider separately? Vice Chair Sexton.
I'd like to consider items G and H, the job descriptions, separately.
Okay, any others? Member Goodwin?
The policies.
Okay, so that is item B, approved school committee policy AC. And the other is the draft competency determination?
Yes.
Okay.
Pull that out.
So we'd like to hear a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A, D, E, and F, excluding items B, C, G, and H.
So moved.
Motion from Member Martini and a second from Member Goodwin. Any discussion? Okay. I think we can just vote, right? Just all in favor? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? I'll abstain, so the motion carries. So then let's take each item in turn. So we'll move on to, I'd like to hear a motion to approve school committee policy AC non-discrimination.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so, and would you like to present about this one?
Happy to take that one.
Thank you.
This was on for a first read last month. At that time, I let you know that the attorney had not had a chance to look at it. But based on the read information there, the attorney has now had a chance to look at it and said there were a couple of things that were out of date. So this would bring the policy up to date, as well as include number 7 that Mr. Messing and I had suggested for the integrated monitoring review that's taking place in the district currently.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll abstain. The motion carries. Moving on, I'd like to hear a motion to approve the draft competency determination graduation requirements as presented.
So moved.
Motion from Member Childs. Is there a second? Second from the mayor. Will you present on this too, Mr. Sullivan?
Of course. So this, again, was on, as a first read last month, has been pretty much a standing item on our agenda since the summer. I actually just said to the instructional leadership team at the high school today that I have not been in this role for more than 16 months, and this is the second iteration of this. And we also now have the Governor's Council has proposed recommendations that we anticipate will go through public comment and eventually go through the legislature and become law likely late in next spring, early summer. So there will be another iteration down the road.
Any questions or comments? Member Goodwin?
I guess that was my question. I mean, it's sort of a doomed policy that it's going to change again based on what the state is up to. So do we want to?
We're required to submit, all
Okay.
districts throughout the state are required to submit an updated competency determination by the 31st of December. And they have acknowledged that that will change, but they have maintained that deadline.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll abstain, so the motion carries. I'd like to hear a motion to approve item G, Restorative Practices Coordinator job description.
So moved.
Motion from Member Childs, and a second from the mayor. Let's see, do you want to raise your question?
Yeah, I guess the big question that I had about both of these, which I know we're only voting on G at this moment, but it was related to having an advertised salary range, which I know we make reference to a range that exists, but I ran into this when I was putting together the superintendent one, but there's a new law that we actually have to have numbers in there. So I just, before we approve it, I want to make sure we have everything we need.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that portion, not the job description. They're two separate things. The way I see it, this is a job description, and then when we do post it, whether it's on School Spring or via social media, we will then add the salary to it. So job descriptions, we have a job description booklet with job descriptions. They don't all have salaries. Salaries correspond to contracts. They change every year, that type of scenario. So we're asking, and by all means, we'll be happy to talk salaries with you as well, too, but this is for, we were putting forward the job description. So I'm not trying to be evasive.
It's that, yeah, if you have the salary on the job description, then you have to continuously reapprove
Right.
every job description with any time the salary changes. Okay. Member Goodwin?
I'm even more basic. Is this money in our current budget or in grants?
Both positions, well, I know we're only talking about one, but both are through grants.
Member Sexton?
Yeah, returning specifically back to this restorative practices coordinator, I noticed that there wasn't like any statement about like high school diploma required or certain other credentialing required. There was a lot of experience, which I appreciated, but I was wondering, is there that piece that is going to be expected to be added at some point, or what?
We certainly could add it. I think we were looking to get the broadest range of candidates possible, and while those things weren't specifically included, some of the other descriptions we felt would provide that experience, or in order to have had that experience, you would have needed a high school diploma or other degrees from higher institutions of higher education.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll abstain. I'd like to hear a motion to approve the Innovation Career Pathways Coordinator, Greenfield High School job description.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Did you catch the motion and the second? It was Sexton, second. Yes, great. Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll abstain. So the motion carries. Vice Chair Sexton, will you share with us the superintendent search update?
I sure can. We can't get obviously into too many details and specifics, but I do feel comfortable sharing that we received 25 applications for our superintendent position. Which we felt was a good number, and represented, I think that we are a district of interest, and that there are people who are like actually wanting, I think, and not just willing to serve here. So excited about that. We are working our way through the process of narrowing down that pool to our interview list, our initial interview list, and then after those interviews will be conducted next week. After that, we will narrow the pool down even further to submit the finalists to the full school committee. This will happen just before we break for the holidays, and then when we come back, us as a full school committee, those of us who will still be here, will continue on in the process. We'll get an orientation from NESDEC about formulating final questions and setting actual like an interview schedule, et cetera. possibly setting up meet and greets and that sort of thing in the early, like January, as soon as we get back timeframe. And then from there, we will do our interviews in January, we'll have our deliberations, and by February, we will have the vote to select our final candidate. So that's the timeline from here on out. Are there any questions about any of that? Great.
All set. Thank you. Well, I thought I would take a sort of point of personal privilege to share some reflections after serving in the school committee for 6.5 years. And one place my mind goes is that the idea of broadly educating the public, using public funds and reaching every young person in our community is a relatively recent innovation in human history. It's been very unusual for this to happen, and a very exciting thing to get to be a part of. That project of educating every young person is very special and important, and it can't happen the way that it does without an institution like the school committee functioning and working through policies and budgets and so on. And so it's been a real honor for me to get to be a part of it and to play a role in some ways, I think, protecting this as an institution. These institutions, both locally, state and regional and national level, we're all facing a lot of challenges. We're being reminded on a regular basis that our democracy really relies on us, kind of a continual and perpetual effort. It's not something we can just assume or take for granted. And I'd say there have been some norms that have been challenged both inside and outside the school committee in my time serving here. And I'm proud of what we've been able to do together to keep the school committee functioning and serving Greenfield well. And I wanted to appreciate in particular Vice Chair Sexton. I feel like you represented both working hard to fulfill your duties as a school committee member, but also looking ahead and taking initiative to develop yourself as a leader and to learn more about how this committee runs. And I know the next committee will choose who they want to have as their chair, but however that works out, I feel like your energy and initiative towards wanting to learn and asking for mentorship and stepping up, taking more and more leadership has been very impressive. And I feel like everyone here has worked hard to, with the best of intentions, to serve Greenfield, whether we all agree or not. We're actually not supposed to all agree all the time. So congratulations us, we've succeeded at not agreeing. And it's been an honor to work with all of you. It's been, in some ways, I think it's been the hardest job I've ever had to be on the committee and to chair. Sometimes it's felt like I'm hanging from the edge of a cliff and people are stomping on my fingertips to get me to fall off. And I wanted to appreciate Member Martini and Member Denis. We ran together to serve on this committee together, and there were some key times when I was on the verge of quitting and you kept me from doing it. And I really appreciate it because I'm very glad to be leaving at the end of my term instead of in the middle of it. I want to thank everybody, the administration, all the different administrators that we've had over the years. I've learned a lot from everybody, and working closely together, and sometimes some gallows humor and laughing to keep from crying. They say it's a thankless job, but as soon as someone says it's such a thankless job, they usually follow up by saying, thank you so much for what you're doing. And so it's actually not thankless. And for members of the public who might be listening, don't don't underestimate the value of saying thank you to us, and having it not be a thankless job sometimes can make a real difference to us, because sometimes the job is really hard. So thank you for everybody's support, for your vote when I've been on the ballot, and for the opportunity to serve as your chair. It's been an honor. Okay. From that to the budget and finance report. Member Martini?
Hi there. Budget and Finance just met on Monday this week and proceeded with updating our budget guidelines to provide for the superintendent. I will not, because my term is up, but prior to the next school committee meeting, Budget and Finance will meet again and receive some get-backs that we need for information from school administration in order to finalize those guidelines. And I anticipate that the subcommittee will be able to bring a set of proposed budget guidelines to the full committee in January. Like I spoke about the last time, Budget and Finance had agreed to proceed with an effort to create a budget book for Greenfield rather than what we have previously had, which is our annual hearing with a PowerPoint style presentation and the spreadsheet kind of nitty-gritty information. We decided to go ahead and try to provide something that's more digestible, that presents information in multiple different ways so that people can access it in ways that work for them. So that's a very big undertaking, and the subcommittee had decided on proceeding with an executive summary portion. Typically speaking, a budget book would also entail several other sections, such as an organizational section, an informational section, different things like that. However, the executive summary section is quite substantive all by itself. So that seemed like the best place to start, and at our meeting that we just had, members had the opportunity to bring forward specific items that they would like to see, and based on draft of a executive summary, I'll call it a booklet, since it's part of a full budget book. So I feel like that was a good start. There is a draft document, and the subcommittee will go ahead and carry that work forward. It does involve quite a bit of information gathering and distilling, but I think it will be really beneficial to be able to present the most important aspects of the budget in visuals and graphics, as well as chart form, as well as narrative form, and just offer this information to all kinds of brains who process things different ways. So I'm excited to see that go forward, and I wish the subcommittee the best of luck. Is it all right if I make a little personal comment? This
Please
is
do.
my last school committee meeting. My term
Absolutely.
is up. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I have been heartened to see the Herculean work that our school administration and staff have been doing over these last few years to move the needle on student achievement, especially when it comes to literacy. That needle is heavy. It's hard to move, and that issue is near and dear to my heart. So I'm really glad to hear the continued work that the assistant superintendent keeps telling us about at meetings, and look forward to listening from the sidelines as things go forward. And I wanted to say thank you to our 3 members who attended the annual MASC conference this year. It may sound like, I don't know, kind of a random thing, but I really appreciate those members who go forward and get training for themselves in how to be the best school committee member you can be, because most people come into this not really knowing what they don't know. And it takes, it's a lot to ask a person to take so much time out of their personal life. You know, everybody here is busy working, parenting, doing all the things. And I appreciate members taking that on. I wanted to say thank you to Member Childs for offering to do the work of updating the annual budget calendar this year, also facilitating our meeting on Monday because I was still getting over laryngitis at the time and didn't sound great. So thank you for doing the work. I appreciate Member Deneve for the legislative work that you've done over the last few years. You've really created groundwork that didn't exist before on this committee and have just made just a huge difference, and you really deserve the award that you've received for your work as a committee member. And I have to echo Chair Johnson-Moussad's comments that because time and again, I have just been impressed by Vice Chair Sexton and the sheer amount of personal time and investment that you put into your work on the committee. You do so much of the work between all of the subcommittee work that you have done, the vice chair responsibilities, our collective bargaining representative, and spearheading the work of finding a new superintendent. I just, and to top that all up, actually, I'm walking the walk and volunteering in our schools, being there for our kids. I'm really inspired by you, and I just appreciate your leadership, so I want to just highlight that. And lastly, Glenn, one thing I think sums it up for me, you made one comment, I don't even know how long ago now, but it always stays with me. That you never refer to our students as kids. People talk about our kids as kids oftentimes, but you said that you like to refer to them as students because these are not just kids. These are people whose whole adult lives are going to be affected by the decisions we make today. And so I wanted you to know that I've taken that on, and I always refer to our students as our students and respect them as such. So thank you for schooling me on that.
Thank you. And thank you for revolutionizing our budget process and holding us to the highest standards out there for what our process can look like and the level of community engagement that we can have. Policy and program report, that's me. Secretary Deneve, Vice Chair Sexton, and I met as the policy committee, and we were tasked with coming up with some taking a fresh look at our agenda building items as listed in our student handbook, our school committee handbook. And we do have some recommendations for the school committee to consider. We were looking basically at two sides of the coin. On the one hand, wanting to ask members to take responsibility in their agenda requests for really giving a full amount of thought and care into those requests when submitting them to the chair. Secretary Deneve shared a model that's by a sister district of ours where people actually fill out kind of a template for an agenda request in advance. It just kind of gives a chance for people to make sure they're doing their legwork and preparing well so that the school committee will be well prepared for whatever agenda items people are putting forward. And has already done some legwork gathering those some model templates for the school committee to consider if you decide to take that up. The other side of the coin, so wanting to make sure members have some type of recourse if they put in a request for an agenda item and for some reason it does not appear in any way on the agenda, that we have a agenda template that includes an item like what is in our agenda tonight. If you look under new business, we've included at time of posting, no topics reasonably anticipated by the chairperson. That hopefully would give members an opportunity to raise items that weren't on the agenda if they did go through the process and for some reason the school committee chair was not following the process. There would be a chance for people to at least make a motion that an item be on an agenda for a future meeting. And then the committee could vote and discuss that. So I guess the motion would be if the committee would direct the policy committee to work on those recommendations and to bring specific language to a future school committee meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, so we have a motion from Member Childs and a second from the mayor. Discussion?
I have a question about that. Is that something that most other, did anybody look, is it something that a lot of other schools do?
Well, Secretary Dean, maybe you can talk about this. You brought this to us, the district that does it and how the impact it has on their meetings.
Sure. So when I was in Hyannis, I took a class on how to make your meetings 2 hours or less. That's what it was called.
Okay.
So of course I ran right to that. And it was held by Pioneer Valley Regional District. And they have a really interesting plan that they've implemented. And what it is everybody who wants to put anything on the agenda, be it the superintendent, everybody, even the business manager, they all fill out a yellow memo and it states what the report is or what the request is, what it's about, who it involves, rationales. Everything is an embedded link. And at the bottom of the memo, it says what the action is. Is this something to discuss? Is this something to be reported on? Or is there a motion to be made? And the motion to be made is already written out. And so every memo in yellow, when you flip through their packet, which is decorated with student artwork, I just want to say, it's beautiful. It's a whole nother level. They even said they would come and teach us how to do this. All of the memos in yellow, when you go through the packet, you know that those are things you have to read and understand because those are things that are going to come up in the meeting. All of the budget reports, if it's money going out, is in green. If it's money coming in, it's blue. If it's money we have to talk about, it's red. There's a whole color coding system that's beautiful, and the entire thing is tiled together in one single PDF, organized. And the goal behind this is that you have this packet organized in such a way that you will read those yellow memos and you will be prepared because the motion is already at the bottom. But there's also the secondary Robert's Rules thing where if something that you asked to have on an agenda isn't on the agenda, when I had this problem, I called MASC and they told me, will you go ahead and you object to the agenda and make a motion that your item is added to the agenda, and it's up to the school committee as a whole to vote on whether or not they want that taken up in the current meeting, or you can hopefully have it added to the next one. So you may not win that vote, but that's the official process. So because of how they organize this memo system, they say that they don't run into that sort of thing, and people are incentivized to digest those yellow memos and understand what's happening prior to the meeting, and so everything being pre-done makes everything go fast. Because all of the work is supposed to be done in subcommittees, so these memos are like subcommittee recommendations with motions at the bottom also. So this is just part of making the train run on time and faster.
Thank you. Other questions? Comments? Okay. Mayor, see you thinking, so take your time.
No, so For the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, have we seen this at other places? I'm just curious. Have you worked with that at other school systems?
I haven't seen too much of exactly what Member Neve described. Generally, I've seen people follow the order of what's on the agenda is to be spoken about that day, and then they can bring up things during new business at the end. A lot of times those aren't taken care of. They're usually added for the next meeting. And I'm not an expert, I'm not a lawyer in terms of all that stuff, and I'm not an expert in Robert's Rules of Orders, but have been following it. From a lot of the things we see from our own city clerk's office here, in this role, my role right now with Greenfield, yeah, you probably have a little leeway, as Member Deneve mentioned, to do it. If you did a lot, you'd probably get some pushback by people saying, well, then put that out ahead of time, right? So I can show up and speak about it or do something for that, which is why meetings have to be posted so early and information out there and that stuff. So I do think that there are times, don't get me wrong, where things come up that need to be acted on that evening, absolutely. But I think there's that, right, that you gotta weigh it. You're not putting that line in there so that every night you can just keep the meeting. Because remember, the start of her topic was keep it under 2 hours, not just keep bringing things and adding to it as well. So I think that it's a good concept that we should definitely look into.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of having a set place on the agenda with, that's kind of open with under new business came out of, okay, Mask tells you you can make a motion to amend the agenda or add something to it, but if you're not the chair and it's not on the agenda, when do you make that motion? So if the school committee had a kind of a policy of always having that item there, it kind of creates a opportunity for members to add new business items. And maybe the phrasing isn't exactly what's on our agenda tonight, but something like that. Any other discussion? All right, let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll abstain. The motion carries. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to school committee, city council relations. Under the report from executive subcommittee on medium and long range strategy, the open item for us was our invitation to the city council president to meet with the executive committee, bringing anyone she wished to bring with her to that meeting to discuss the school committee, city council relationship. The president got back to me a few days ago, and with obviously not an ideal time to initiate that conversation because both the school committee and the city council may have new leadership in January, but I sensed a willingness on her part for that to happen in 2026. So that's sort of the update on that item. Let's see. Next is, any questions on that? Okay. We should, where are we on that? Let's see, is that on the agenda? Yeah, we do need, but do we have anything on this? I think this one got carried over, but what is not fresh, this recommendation from Community Engagement Subcommittee, did we act on that last month? What's that?
No, they haven't had.
Oh, can you put on your mic?
They haven't had any precinct meetings.
Okay.
They're anticipating them happening starting next year, and they're to happen on even numbered years. So they were giving us a heads up at the joint meeting.
Ah, okay, great. So I think that's a yes from the school committee, right? We probably don't even need to vote on that. People will want to participate in that. Okay. So yes, plan for the December City Council meeting, whether and whom to designate as a representative, approving specific talking points. Is there a motion on that item? Mayor?
I'd motion to have the superintendent go this month. That would be my motion, because I thought of a couple of reasons why. several of us will be doing
Well,
interviews.
we can get to your
Okay.
reasons during the discussion, but
Pardon me.
can you also say what you wish the superintendent to do at the meeting?
Something like he did tonight, with an update on things that were happening in the school. And
Great. Okay, so the motion is for the school committee to direct the superintendent to attend the December city council meeting, providing an update on the Greenfield Public Schools. Is that right, Mayor? Great.
yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Member Goodwin. Discussion? Member Goodwin?
I think because you were inspiring and positive, and it would be really nice for the city council to hear all that positive, especially before budget season begins, where we have to make hard choices. So I think it would just be, I feel better. I think everybody was really feeling positive, and I think you're the person who brought that here, and so I think it should be brought there as well. So I'm sorry, it's another night.
Any other discussion? Member Childs?
So I think my memory serves correctly, and I've gone back to the meeting minutes from November. I believe that we were going to ask for that accountability data report for December at the city council. Am I
So
misreading things?
did we vote on that? I can't remember.
Motion amendment, send superintendent and vice chair Stacy Sexton to share highlights from GPS and SS to update on the search committee. Do we wish to provide any direction to either? Nope, take as come. Vote yes, passed with one abstention.
Okay, so we discussed sending, I believe, Assistant Superintendent Sullivan to the December meeting, but we didn't take a vote on that as a body. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct,
Okay.
based on the motion amendment I'm reading off of the minutes right now.
Great. Okay, so let's stick to the motion we have right now for the superintendent. Any other discussion on sending the superintendent to provide updates on the Greenfield Public Schools? Okay. I guess I will take the liberty of sharing my perspective, although I think I'm a bit of an outlier on this one. So I personally think that the superintendent and assistant superintendent do a great job giving a thorough presentation on the Greenfield Public Schools at this meeting, which is the Greenfield School Committee meeting. And while I recognize the superintendent's extremely well compensated, and there certainly are sacrifices that are expected of him from family time and so on to attend meetings, I just think it's a lot to stay that late in the day to make a few nice comments about the Greenfield Public Schools. I guess I would, and at times, then it gets opened up, and I believe this happened last time, where city councilors ask questions or make comments that haven't been provided in advance. There hasn't been an opportunity to prepare, and sometimes the tone of the questions is not exactly constructive. So I guess I'm not a huge fan of this, but even though it has been quite a precedent for quite a long time in Greenfield, I would at least encourage members to consider encouraging the superintendent to participate by Zoom, so he could at least go home and, be with family, and then maybe pop on for whatever the short duration of the presentation is, if you are going to support the mayor's motion. So, Secretary Deneve?
You are not the outlier, Glenn.
Okay.
I also took this class in Hyannis, the city council relations class, and should the superintendent go to the city council meetings class. And they very sternly looked me in the eye and said, "Are you the employer of record of the superintendent, or is the city council the employer of record of the superintendent?" And they urged us to be cognizant of that. And so you're not the outlier. I completely agree with you, but I also understand that the city council appreciates and wants these reports, especially when they're positive. But I also find it kind of odd that it has to be done twice when such excellent reports are given during the meeting here, and that's the week before the city council. So I hope that in the future we can just vote as needed for these things in respect of their time.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Member Goodwin?
I like the idea of Zoom. I mean, just to pop on and then pop off. I like the presence piece. I mean, it's something that, I don't even know when it started, but I know it's in charters and all these documents.
It's not in the charter, I'm sorry. It's just
Okay.
not.
So I think Zoom is the answer.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mayor?
To me, it wouldn't matter to me whether the superintendent went in person or by Zoom. I think I would, that could be a personal choice, but it is it's in the code, and it was a long-term history of that, and I think although Member Deneve had a valid point about us just having this meeting where we get all of this information, I would just ask everybody to think for a minute, if to find out all of the city information, just yourselves to think, do you actually watch city councils to see what is happening, citywide? My guess would be, although you may, but many people do not. And so it gives an opportunity because it's televised and widely watched for people to know what's happening. Additionally, as I said, it is in the code so there's part of me that likes to follow the ordinances and code that we have. So until that's changed, doesn't matter to me whether it's in person or via Zoom. We have hybrid meetings for all meetings now, which is a wonderful thing, so that people can participate remotely, which works for so many people. So
I'd just like to clarify that the city council does have the authority to create a code for themselves about what's on their agenda, and what they have put on their agenda is a standing item where the school committee may, if we choose, go and take advantage of that platform. But the city council cannot put into their code a requirement that the school committee or the superintendent attend their meeting any more than we could vote to require the city council president come to our meeting, because there certainly are people who watch school committee meetings and don't watch city council meetings who might benefit from having an update on what is happening at city council. So I feel like right there you can kind of see the confusing power dynamics, I guess, at play, or the confusion of our co-equal roles as different branches of the Greenfield city government with our own kind of authority and responsibilities. So I just feel like there has been something about it that has been confusing. I feel like the optics create a scenario where it looks like the city council plays some role of oversight in the day-to-day operations of the Greenfield Public Schools, and I just think that's confusing, since that's really our role as a school committee. When they have the opportunity to just ask whatever question in whatever tone they wish on any topic they wish, I think that creates a picture of authority that is actually not in the charter or in any code. Any other discussion? Member Goodwin?
Well, I love that rebel side of you. But I guess the part of me is sitting here, and I've been listening to the desire to work better with the city council, and people from both the city council and the school committee work together. So maybe that's the first topic of those people working together to address the whole issue, and coming up with an understanding that that's not going to happen. I mean, maybe that is the mission of those first meetings. Because I'm with you, And so I'm listening to you, and I'm going, go Glenn. And then I'm hearing people want to work like as together as one big committee, and I'm going, okay, so which is it? Like, so are we two separate committees? Because that's, I mean, who we are. Or are we trying to form one that works together? And I think that's, so, and I, sitting here, Glenn, want to say to you, I remember the first time you gave a speech and got on school committee with Adrian Nunez. And I negotiated with you for, with unions. We went through the pandemic together. You gave me Netflix recommendations, which were excellent. And I've always enjoyed your humor. And so I appreciate everything you have brought to this table, and I want you to know that. Even though, you know, we've had differences, but I have watched you. I've watched the madness of school committee that you went through, and all of the drama that you went through. I was there, and watched all of that play out. And so I hope in the future that that drama is not. And there's probably a Netflix just for that. But so this is like a, okay, so I've got Rebel Glenn, which totally, yes, go Glenn. And then I've got people saying they want like, so I'm sort of like, which do I listen to? I mean, and I bet you have a video game for this. So I guess collaboration or rebellion? Which would you recommend? This is your last chance to like give a strong recommendation.
I'm really not proposing rebellion at all. I think what I'm saying is in a good working relationship, both parties recognize each other's kind of autonomy and authority and respect. And I feel like there has been, just through tradition, a little bit of a confusing element of it. And I will have to say that my initial foray into this was reactive, and it came after a time of intense struggle and difficulty and being raked over the coals myself. But in particular, I feel like watching our business manager and our superintendent get raked over the coals at those meetings 1 week after being raked over the coals by us. You know, it's our job to rake them over the coals about stuff like that. It's the city council's job to give us a number of how much money we have to work with in a year. And so that's what I'm hopeful for, is that whoever's in leadership on the school committee and in the city council can come together and kind of like, let's back up a little bit here and let's look at what our actual relationship and authority and powers are and work towards a mutually respectful, cooperative relationship from that. Secretary Deneve and then Member Martini.
I would just say that I hope that in the future that reporting to the city council meetings is the least important way that we interact with the city council. There are so many other ways that we should be interacting with them, from joint budget and finance meetings to financial workshops, so that they can understand why we're the only city department with state mandated funding issues that they should understand about. Like, that's something that we should champion. We can have breakfasts with them. We can invite them to our annual school tours. We can pick them up in a bus even. There's so many things that we have the power to do in terms of reaching out and ways to work with them, that going to the city council meeting to give a report is the least of the things that we could be doing, and probably not even the most important one. So I hope that we have open minds in the future and explore these other possibilities that other districts have enacted.
Member Martini?
Second everything that Secretary Deneve just said. And I think from my view, I would prefer to wait until the incoming leadership of both bodies has worked out a set of mutual expectations before we go ahead and take up more of the superintendent's time and put a superintendent in front of a group of folks who have sometimes had difficulty understanding those particular roles, and where those meetings have sometimes gone in a direction that has been really negative or insulting. You know, I would like to see the two bodies have a set of codified mutual expectations that everybody understands, and then go from there, rather than have it be a, well, it's been a while, let's just try it again scenario. And I realize that we have an interim superintendent at the present time, but I think the school committee should act as if we're talking about a permanent superintendent. One of the most important things that a school committee and the chair can do to improve the longevity of a superintendent in the district is to protect their time, and to protect them, you know, in terms of those fraught, difficult situations. So I'm going to be a no on this one. No for now.
Confession, I did not watch last month's city council meetings, so I wanted to know, what did we do last month, if anything?
We did vote to ask the superintendent to give a report on the public schools, and I believe that also the report on the superintendent search from Vice Chair Sexton. And then it was opened up for questions from the city council.
Okay, so I just wanted to be clear that we had been talking about the accountability data last month, but we have not presented that to city council yet?
That's correct.
Okay, because the discussion okay, yeah. Just wanted to be clear on that.
Got it.
And then my personal preference is if someone's going to give you a platform, you should use it. That's just my preference.
Great. Any other discussion? All right, I think it might be helpful to have a roll call vote on this one, if you don't mind, Secretary Deneve?
Chair Johnson-Masad?
No?
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a no. Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Abstain.
Okay, I'm going to have to do the math on these votes in a minute. Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
Member Martini?
No.
So we have 3 noes, 1 abstention, and
3 yes.
3 yeses.
So Robert's Rules of Order requires us to keep deliberating until we come to a conclusion. Let's see, Vice Chair Sexton and then Mayor DeSorger.
Yeah, I was the only one who didn't weigh in the first round of discussion. I voted yes, and I intend to vote yes again because I am of a similar mind of if we have the platform, let's use it, especially if we're essentially doing a PR blitz here to lay some groundwork for a more positive budget session. That is my singular goal. And they like Roland. They really do. They really do. And I am perfectly happy with Roland joining remotely and immediately logging off as soon as all the questions are done and going about your business for the rest of the night. That doesn't bother me at all. But I do think that it is worth us, until we have maybe some codified policies, to continue with past practice rather than stopping the relationship altogether at this point.
Other discussion? Mayor?
Just trying to sway my fellow members here. When we talk about relationships, I fear that not doing that would appear as a snub as well. And so I just would strongly encourage folks to think again. I tell you, the city council is changing again in January. I feel that going forward, there will be great reception, in those meetings, and I feel that that might harm relations by not doing that. And that's all I have to say.
Member Childs, then Secretary Geneve.
So in January, everything will be reset. We'll have new leadership. We'll have the opportunity to come together to a mutually agreed upon rules of engagement. But why don't we end the year on a high point? We've got great data about the growth that the schools have had. I would rather end on a high point, end with a positive interaction rather than just turning down an invitation. That is a standing invitation.
Secretary?
I watched the city council meeting, and if I had been treated that way, I would not want to return. So I do think that it's great to go and give a report maybe, or you could do it by Zoom, but the question, some of the questions and the directions that they went, specifically one person's questions, was abusive. So I don't know that the city council has control in the moment of their behavior. I'm sorry, I have to say it. It was appalling. I wouldn't want to return. So, and I give great kudos to you, Roland, for how you handled things in such a professional manner. I'm all for resetting everything in January. If you guys want to go and give a report, great. But I would feel awful if you all were treated the same way that you were treated at the last meeting next week. So I just want to say that publicly.
Member Martini?
Can I offer perhaps a friendly amendment that the superintendent attend by Zoom and present a report, but not take questions?
So Mayor, that was your motion. Do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I don't. And I'd like to explain why. Again, I'm thinking about the future and down the line and relationships, and that's why I'm pushing it, and that's why I was pushing for this to happen. I too was there. I too saw what Member Deneve saw. But how do you have a relationship with anyone if you're not there? And secondly, again, I hear your very valid points about I'm not a lawyer, does one body have authority to even put that in a code or an ordinance? It is there, and at the end of it, I believe it says by standing practice to attend and answer questions, and I don't have that in front of me, so I don't accept that, because I think it's going to happen. I think someone will have a question. But Member Deneve, I was there. So
Okay, so you didn't accept the part about questions, but it sounds like you would accept the part about Zoom.
absolutely.
Okay. Member Martini?
I just wanted to make a follow-up comment that I think it's wonderful for city council members to direct questions to the school committee chair anytime that they would like. And I would still like for the school committee to do its duty as the employer of the superintendent to protect not just the superintendent's time, but also their person. And I appreciate wanting to have a platform when we have it. And that's hard. It's hard for me to balance with putting somebody out there in front of kind of a hostile crowd. So I'm sorry, but I'm still a no.
Okay. Why don't we vote again on the mayor's motion, knowing that if it fails, we can try other things? You're not... I'm looking at you, Member Goodwin. Yeah.
In my head, I was sending the GHS band, or Nate Woodard.
You want to turn on your microphone if you want to speak? Well, let me put it this way, Member Goodwin, if you don't mind. If you're this ambivalent about the motion, it seems like you might prefer a different motion. So wonder if we might consider, voting on this one and then making another motion if you have another idea. We could also, let's see, I'm lacking my Robert's Rules of Order. I guess if we postpone the motion, we wouldn't have anyone there in December.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question?
Yes, please.
So, can more than one person attend?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
can I sit next to Roland, so if somebody misbehaves, I can be a principal for them a moment?
The school committee certainly can vote to have any member who's willing to attend the city council meeting either by Zoom or in person. Yes.
Bring it. Okay.
Member Childs?
I'd like to make a friendly amendment that Member Goodwin will be accompanying the superintendent.
Mayor, do you accept?
Yes.
Okay, so the current motion is at the December City Council meeting to direct the superintendent to present updates on the Greenfield Public Schools with Member Goodwin attending.
Second?
And he can still.
Well, that was your motion, so just making clear. So who seconded the mayor's motion? Do you also accept the amendment? I don't know. Do you have it, Nan? Oh, I guess Melody, you would accept that?
Did it have the word Zoom in there too?
Yep, the mayor had already accepted an amendment to make it on Zoom.
So yes, I second, third, whatever you want.
Okay, so the friendly amendment has been accepted by Mayor, who was the first, and Member Goodwin, who was the second. So our vote is on whether to send the superintendent to present an update from the Greenfield Public Schools with Member Goodwin in attendance. Okay.
Chair Johnson-Mossad?
I was wondering if I had, I guess I'll just vote, and my vote is yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a no. Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Member Martini?
No.
Passes with 2 noes.
Okay. Let's see, on this, and maybe this would be an item for a future agenda item, but it seems like there's some important research that needs to be done on this code, and maybe the mayor would be willing to have the city's attorney take a look at it. I think our council has looked at it and concluded that, that we aren't required to attend. I don't know if there's been any kind of determination on whether it's a valid code to begin with, but it seems like the city council probably can organize their agenda however they wish. They just can't kind of command the presence of others. But if you wouldn't mind looking into that, Mayor, that would be great.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on, procedures for adherence to open meeting law. Whoops, what about February? Oh, great, okay. So, Member Martini reminded us at the last meeting that in a former open meeting law complaint, the school committee voted to have a training for the school committee in response to that complaint, and that was never enacted under the prior chair or under me as chair. And so one of my things in trying to wrap up that loose end is to schedule a open meeting law training as the school committee had voted on a while back. And the superintendent was kind enough to reach out to Liz LaFawn from Mask, and she's willing to come in February. So that item is taken care of. Any questions on that? Member Sexton?
It's not a question, but I just want to note that that same meeting will be our vote to approve a candidate for superintendent. Oh, wow. So.
Oh, maybe better to look at a future meeting if those are colliding. Or a separate special meeting for the you already have it scheduled. but
Yeah,
you guys
well,
can
let's
coordinate
chat about it, because
and work with the next chair on the right timing. Okay. Member Childs?
Maybe we should invite the city council if they want to pop in for that. If it's a training special meeting, they could find it useful too.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments on the open meeting law training? Okay. The other one related to open meeting law was the school committee authorized me to explore with our school committee council how we might go about creating a venue for sharing of communications, electronic communications between members that may have been to a quorum or more of the school committee or a subcommittee. And so he as our council often does when he takes a fresh look at things, he makes amendments, recommended amendments, both relevant to the item brought up and also to other things that may improve or strengthen the policy. And so you have tonight for a discussion item, BHE, use of electronic messaging by school committee members. I think most of the items in the first 4 paragraphs where there are revisions primarily for clarity or bringing things up to date with current descriptions. For example, adding a sentence or any other form of electronic communication, since new ones are being invented all the time. The item that would be new or substantially new, I think, is the final paragraph, which would add, in the interest of promoting transparency with the public, the chair of the school committee may, at their discretion, make public any electronic correspondence exchange between or among members of the school committee, provided that such disclosure complies with all applicable laws, including but not limited to the Massachusetts Public Records Law and the Open Meeting Law. So this would be a chance for the committee to discuss and share their views on the changes to policy BHE. The vote on it would happen. We could discuss. You can refer it to the policy committee for further changes, and then it could be voted on at a future meeting. So, any discussion? Mayor?
This hasn't been to policy?
Not yet, no. It was the result of the school committee directing me to discuss this with the school committee council at the last meeting. Member Goodwin?
So again, I read the last paragraph multiple times, and it just feels like, again, people attacking things that are, and I was hoping when I heard that we were actually going to have a training on open meeting law, that we were going to engage in positive growth. And when I read that last paragraph, it sounds like people are just going to be attacking each other. So it sounds negative instead of positive, and I'm hoping for positive growth. So, I mean, the last time this was talked about was at the last school committee meeting, and I felt very much attacked. And I think whenever somebody questions open meeting law, I know every time I was emailed, I went to the clerk and I got a ruling whether I had violated open meeting law. There are people in our community who will say there's an open meeting law violation about whatever happens. You need to take it to the clerk and get a ruling. I mean, I think there's misunderstanding about what open meeting law is, and I think the training is a wonderful step forward. I take this last paragraph as we're just going to be watching each other, and Big Brother is watching, and it's all going to be put into some document, and that's just the way I'm reading it. So if there's another way to word it that's more positive, Because I think my hope is also that the next chair of our school committee is moving us forward and that we're not stuck in one place. And so, and our school committees have struggled. Glenn, you lived it. And you could have had your own Netflix show for a while. So I'm just looking for the positive. And I really see, first of all, the red ink thing. I have 2 aunts who are English teachers who used red ink to correct my thank you notes. So I'm just looking for positives.
Thank you. Member Childs?
What I would propose as a good course of action here is that we table this until after the open meeting law training and then have the policy subcommittee look at it again. That would be my preference for an action plan.
Okay, so I think I'm hearing a motion to postpone the discussion on policy BHE until after the open meeting law and to refer it to the next policy subcommittee after the open meeting law training.
Yes.
Okay, great. Is there a second? Second from Member Goodwin. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll abstain. The motion carries. So this will be sent to this policy committee after the open meeting law training in this late winter, early spring. Great. All righty. On to new business. The mayor asked me to add this to the agenda. So the discussion and possible vote. Do we wish to plan for redistricting again? And if so, on what timeline? Mayor, do you want to speak to this?
I do, and thank you, Chair, for putting that on the agenda. I did put it forward in light of the fact that I'm actually called upon to decide on the capital requests. And it will be difficult, to put forward the requests because we did have some for different facilities here, and we haven't met again, whether that should be a subcommittee or all of us talking about it. We haven't talked about that, so I will be hard-pressed to make decisions on that if we haven't had further discussion about it, because there's things for different schools. So that's why I put it forward now, even though I know it's the end of the year. But the way the capital projects go in January, I'll list some of them. I certainly won't. I've received them from all of the different departments, and I won't be able to put everybody's forward because there's not money for it. And so with my practical hat on, which is part of my job, I have to steward the city's finances to the best way possible. We haven't had this discussion again, so I'm just asking that we thank you for putting it on. No motion for tonight, but I think we need to start, that we need to begin the talk of that. I sent a little bit more information just 5 minutes before on costs of each facility, and I also think that there were 5th grade parents that were hoping that their children would be in an elementary school. That was my reason for asking for that. Thank you.
And if I'm hearing you right, Mayor, you're talking about wanting to look at redistricting possibly for September? Is that what you're thinking or not?
Yes, I don't know, or just that we talk again because we haven't. And what prompted me to ask for this was the capital requests. They're at 4 or 5 different facilities, and I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to put all the capital requests forward. So not having a discussion about this will make that difficult for me to put different items forward.
Aaron, you're not on mute if you don't mind
all the
muting.
time, but I still talk.
Aaron, can you please mute? Can you please mute? Thank you. Okay, let's see, Superintendent, could you give us some context? If the school committee did want to look at redistricting, what would be a timeline that you think would make sense to start those conversations?
Pretty soon would be the timeline, but it really would come down to how much are you looking to do, right? I mean, if you're looking to, right, I hesitate to even say, because I'm new to this and wasn't around for your discussion last spring and summer. If you're looking to move grades, that's one discussion. That might be something that could be done if it was minor and involved a few classrooms at a few schools. If you were looking to close a school or schools, plural, that may be bigger. If you were looking for different grade configurations, right, we still have, as I mentioned to you, almost 1,350 students. They have to fit somewhere. And what we're hoping for, right, we all are hoping, is to get more students in life and to bring some of our students back from wherever they're choosing to attend, whether it's private schools, charter schools, you name it, and even if not even attracting more out-of-district students in for school choice. So the whole combination of all of those in that sense. So it's one of those things that, right, if it's small, could it be done by September? Possibly. If it's something that's very big and involves transportation and busing and closing a school or schools and moving neighborhoods, right? I don't have to tell you, the elected officials, when you campaign, what will spark the interest of your constituents, right? And you'll be, you don't get a lot, you may not get a lot of action right now, depending on a certain topic that we're discussing. You talk about moving their children or closing a school or moving grades in certain schools, you'll be inundated in that sense. And it may, if it's small, it may not be as many, but if it's large, it may be. So it's an open question, and I probably didn't answer your question in that sense, like how fast do you have to start it? I started July 1st, right? We have not talked about that once. It's 5.5 months now at all. And I don't, I don't know the prior years of history that you did it. I know it did come to, from what I've heard, a quick end sometime just before the start of the new fiscal year in that sense, so.
Yeah, we worked on it for several years, but then for funding reasons, we had to put a hold on it. Member Childs and then Member Goodwin.
So we have a lot of parents who've been very engaged and were very committed to the idea of redistricting. And I personally am very biased in favor of a redistricting plan, which, something we'd prioritized in making it, brings full year science back to the middle school, brings full year social studies back to the middle school in Spanish. So I'm speaking as someone who likes the redistricting idea, but we need to figure out the best way to be strategic with how to pay for it and how to save money in doing it. Because that was where we ran into trouble with last year's budget season. We had the plan, but we didn't have the money. So I'm not sure the best way to make the decision without having the financial plan, unless our decision is to make the financial plan, if that makes sense.
Member Goodwin, do you still have an item? You need to turn your microphone on.
So, as a person who knocked on many, many doors in Greenfield and had lots of conversations with lots of families, and actually, in some cases, begged, especially families who had made choices to take their children out of Greenfield, for the reasons why, I think also historically, Superintendent Harper and Chairman Adrian Nunez at the time made a promise to the elementary parents that the 4th and the 5th grade would return to the elementary schools. The 4th and 5th grade were at the middle school. We brought the 4th grade back, or they stayed, and then the following year, that same group of children who were in 3rd grade stayed for 4th grade. We're supposed to stay in 5th grade. We had a pandemic. And unfortunately, then we had different superintendents. And so we lost, it's really a broken promise. And what I heard from families is there's been a lot of broken promises because of the change in staff that just happened as part of the pandemic. And I think I and Adrian and Kia Burton King, and I could give you a list of people who spent every Thursday afternoon for over a year meeting with all these elementary parents. And it was clear your small elementary schools were what they wanted. And they wanted their 4th and their 5th graders back at the elementary school. And the word redistricting makes me itchy because to me that means like we're merging with another district. It's more grade reconfiguration. It's not redistricting. We're not changing our whole district because I don't like that because that makes everybody nervous, like we're becoming part of Mohawk or something. We're trying to bring our elementary students back to where they used to be many, many, many years ago. So even if just, I don't know how much it would cost to just keep the current 4th grade in their elementary schools. I mean, that just means moving some 5th grade teachers and looking at making sure our kids at the middle school get a full year of science and social studies. And we've talked about that in budget time. So, but it's not redistricting, it's a reconfiguration of grades. So I just wanted to say that.
Secretary?
I think I should speak up since I am the chair of that subcommittee. And I did work on redistricting for 3 years. So we have done all of the work and we are ready and prepared to redistrict. All of the work has been done. All of the listening sessions have been done. And then when you wanted to close the middle school last year, we had to meet to find out what to do budgetarily and how it affected our redistricting. And the superintendent, Pat Node, had a meeting with 30 staff members where they basically crammed and tried to figure out what they could do to alleviate some costs. And they brought forward a plan on a building that they could close. But we did not have the budget information from the mayor's office on what was wanted or even being asked for. So it ended because we needed the information from you and we didn't get it. So we couldn't go forward. And that's where we are. But the redistricting work is done. So we could restart that quite easily, but we just need to know budgetarily how it will work because we had to vote to not go forward on it because of that. But I think that there is pain here. Parents have pain. And it is a broken promise because not only is it about reconfiguring the grades, but it's about equity. And we made that pledge many years ago. And we can't fulfill it because of budget reasons, not because of the layout and the setup and the lines and the transportation. Everything was handled and worked through, but we could not execute it because of the money. So this is a budgetary issue only. And nothing has changed as far as I know.
Member Martini and then Mayor DeSorger.
Well, I thought I should chime in from budget. So when you're talking about the plans that were previously laid out through a great deal of work to get our 5th graders back into our elementary schools, which I have not heard anyone disagree that that is what we need to do, that that is what is the most developmentally appropriate, that that's what's in the best interest of our students to bring our 5th graders back to the elementary school and bring our 8th graders back to the middle school. That has been an area of, I would say, at least wide consensus. And the only reason that we were not able to carry out this painstakingly developed plan last year was because the school department was level funded. So when we're talking about making these changes, if we were to go ahead with that plan, not only would it be all of the things that I just said for our kids, our students developmentally, but it would also greatly improve the quality of their education. It would deepen their background knowledge, which will improve their reading comprehension, which will improve their achievement in everything. It has the potential to have these exponential effects in multiple different ways. And if you go ahead and do something like that, it requires positions, therefore it requires major considerations in our budget. So, for example, adding an additional team at GMS in order to bring that full year science and social studies in, that would require about 6 new positions. Well, if the school department is in a position where it's being drastically underfunded, then things like that just don't happen. So I would love for the committee to, I don't know, it's hard for me to say. I want to say that I would love for the committee to take this back up, except that the committee's already done the work. So really what the committee needs to take it back up in order for this to translate into a proposed budget that will then translate into something actually happening. So that is something that is a ways off. It's hard to just flip a switch on something like that. The time for the superintendent to provide a proposed budget and a public budget hearing is fast approaching. So this is not going to make it into this budget, unless something totally unexpected happens between now and January. So yes, by all means, take it up, but we're talking about time down the road. And in terms of our capital projects and how this relates, when we're talking about the redistricting plan that was created already, that's the consensus plan. That is what was developed through all of these listening sessions and through several years of work as a community. That did not include closing schools. So what came up less than a year ago now was an alternative plan, I guess, with a suggestion to close the middle school and cram students into the high school. And there was some misinformation at the time about how many students you can fit in the high school. And there's a difference between how many people you can put in a building and how many students you can have in a class, how many students you can have in a certain type of class, how many rooms are required in order to provide the specialized services that many of our students need, because we have a substantial amount of our student body who is entitled to special education services that need to be delivered in certain ways. It's much more complicated than what's your person capacity in the building, So in terms of our capital projects, all of our buildings need work, and all of those projects are important, and I don't think any of them should be sidelined in the hope that we're going to close that building sometime soon. That's more than 2 cents. Sorry, that's my 15 cents.
Mayor?
Hi. So this reminds me of our meetings from last year to a certain extent. I just want to say a couple of things. My plan to do this was not a plan. And I appreciated the fact that people spent a great deal of time looking at this, 3 years, and in those 3 years, we'd had a NESDEC study, the number of students that we had decreased dramatically. And I brought that, and I know that people heard me with this. The numbers changed, so plans changed. That's how life works. Nobody likes change. I did not want to say out loud at a meeting what I was thinking, because I am very aware of that when you actually just talk about a school, you're talking about people. You're talking about people and students and positions. And when I was pressed at that meeting for what would I think, I said it, but I did not even want to say out loud what I might be thinking about, because I am not the person that would ever make that decision. So I just want to say that out loud. Like all of you, I have children and grandchildren. I want us to provide the best education that we can for our students, and every municipality in Massachusetts is looking at what they can do. I go to regional meetings, FERCog meetings. People are at wit's end because things have changed. And I don't want to be here at this committee and looked at like that is my fault, because it's not. There are mandates that they don't provide the money for. It's very difficult. You think it was hard last year? I don't think any of you would want my job this year. I've had a preliminary meeting with the insurance company, and we're looking at double-digit increases. This means that even though these are tough discussions, that we have to have them. And I don't want to be your enemy. I want to be your teammate. And I care about the students the same way that you do. I care about their parents. And we have to have hard discussions. I know that how there were feelings about that, but I think it's time that we have to put that a little bit to rest and move forward together with what is the best thing. And lastly, the information was, I just want to defend myself on that. I think I've had one vacation since I've taken this job. I was away for 1 week, and there was not internet where I was. The information did get to the committee the night before. They have that, and I apologize for any inconvenience on that, but like all of you, I get up every day and do my best. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'd like to see if we can move this along, but just one item that I feel like I haven't heard mentioned is the timing of the redistricting discussions, given school committee capacity and the nature of having an interim superintendent. I just think that whoever's hired as the next superintendent might want to be on the ground floor of whatever discussions happen. I realize that means waiting until July, but also obviously there isn't going to be any school closures or redistricting that really takes place before September anyway. The other component of it is just school committee capacity with the search and the bringing on of new members and so on. So just in terms of the timing of the discussion, but I do feel like people are right to be noticing this. This isn't just a discussion about numbers of buildings or ideal placement of students, but it's also about money and what's required in the financially impossible situation that cities are in. And you're right, Mayor, would absolutely not want to have your job. And there's been a whole report by the Massachusetts Municipal Association on essentially the perfect storm is the name of the report. And it's just about what a terrible situation people are in. And I think that what we want in those times when the funding is so tight and those horrible decisions have to be made is just a thoughtful and mutually respectful process where people are brought in on conversations early and often. And so I appreciate you bringing this to us, Mayor, because I think it is still a loose end that's hanging out there. And I appreciate the point that it's not just about which buildings are being used, but it's really about the outcomes for our students. And that's really what I feel like there's kind of two different discussions. One is what can we cut because the budget is so tight, and how can we try to reduce our footprint to make things less expensive. But then the whole way that the redistricting conversation went, was at the time, I guess it was called Re-envisioning Our Schools, was really about student academics and student outcomes. And I think that one thing that looking back on that I regret is that I don't think I realized what a big price, well, not a big price tag relative to the value for our students, but what a big price tag it was to make those changes relative to the tight budget. And so we're in this horrible situation where we see the need of our students. We see wanting to get the 5th grade back to elementary. We see wanting to get the 8th grade out of the high school. And we can't afford it with the current numbers that we've been getting. And I guess, obviously it's our job as a committee to plead to the mayor that to keep that in mind, that the schools really took I feel like a disproportionate hit in your last budget in terms of being level funded, and that other departments may have to make some sacrifices next year. It may be their turn to get less than they need, as we did, and have continued to get less than we need for years and years. I realize I took the personal privilege to make a little speech. Is there anyone else who has something else they wanted to share? So I guess I would say that we would refer this, all of this discussion to the next chair of the school committee to think about when and where to bring it up on an agenda and to get the redistricting conversations going again. Does that sound right? Okay. All right. And I know you were entitled to a break about half an hour ago, but we had just started this discussion. So, I guess, why don't we quickly do? Yeah, but before that, does anyone have any items not anticipated for new business? Okay. So we'll vote to enter executive session, and we'll take a 5-minute break between this meeting and the executive session. So pursuant to, I'd like to hear a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. The committee will not return to open session.
So moved.
Motion from Member Childs, a second from Vice Chair Sexton. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Oh.
Point of order to go into executive session. I think we might need to do a roll call.
Oh, that's right. Of course, you're right. Thank you. Secretary, will you call the roll call?
Chair Johnson-Masad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin? Mayor?
Yes.
Member Martini?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, and then I think we need a motion to adjourn the public meeting.
So moved.
Motion from Vice Chair Sexton and a second from the mayor. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? So the regular meeting adjourns at 9 p.m.